Welcome to another episode of On the Record. Tonight, we're diving deep into the cornerstone of Bahamian culture, our beloved and rhythmic rake and scrape. It's more than just music. It's the heartbeat of our islands, a vibrant expression of who we are, where we've come from, and where we're going. As we celebrate the upcoming Best of the Best Rake and Scrape Explosion Reloaded, we'll hear from the very voices keeping this tradition alive and, more importantly, as an evolving art form. From the seasoned veterans to the new generation of artists, Rake and Scrape continues to adapt, yet its roots remain firmly planted in our rich heritage. We'll talk about the overall power of music to bring communities together, the ongoing efforts to keep Rake and Scrape alive for future generations, and how this genre continues to evolve while remaining true to its roots. Stay tuned. This is going to be an engaging conversation you don't want to miss. So stay tuned as we get started on the other side of this break. As we kick off tonight's conversation, we're excited to introduce two key players in the upcoming Best of the Best Rake and Scrape Explosion Reloaded. First, we have Trevor Davis, the mastermind behind Alpha Sound Promotions and the event partner for this highly anticipated celebration of Bahamian culture. Joining Trevor is one of the electrifying artists set to perform, Shine 242, known for his high-energy performances and deep love for Bahamian music. Gentlemen, welcome to On the Record. Trevor, good to have you with us. I know people are asking if we can talk about that thing, but we can't talk about that thing now because it's not before the court. But I know people are interested to say, well, if Trevor here, we can talk. But just for the sake of the audience, we're not in a position to talk about it. We can talk about it too. All right, yes. welcome to On the Record. So let's first of all, Trevor, talk about the collaboration. You have been doing events and concerts with Alpha Sound Productions for years, for as long as I can remember. But this is an event that you are doing that really focuses on the heart of the Bahamian culture, and that's Rake and Scrape. Why was it important for you to collaborate and to ensure that this event really, is executed well?
Well, first of all, Jerome, thanks for having me on the record, and also give me an opportunity to send condolences to the family of my dear friend, Mr. Darren Miller, your colleague.
Yes,
and so I want to say publicly that he will be missed, and he's an icon. He was a father figure to me when we sat down many days in the same Alpha Sound record studio you just mentioned earlier and had wonderful conversations. So I and my family send condolences to the family of Mr. Darren
and really an advocate for Bahamian culture as well.
Yes, most definitely. As a matter of fact, that's how he and I connected. Darren and I connected. Obviously, he would have been friends with my older siblings, and when he found out that who I was, and he said, "Listen, man, I have an artist, and when you do your next event, he has to be on it." And I said, "Who you talking about, Darren?" He said, Elon Moxie, my good friend.
Yes.
I need you to put him on your next show.
Yes.
Now, I ain't hear nothing on you, Trevor. The next show, I need Elon Moxie on. And so said, so done. And that was the beginning of something special over the years with him and I, and also with Elon Moxie. So, yes, I'm happy to join forces with ESC and Last Time Quest. Best of the best. Put this production on that is well needed for the Bahamian public. Rake and Scrape Explosion. It's timely, as you know, in the music industry. it's the evolution. Sometimes you have your highs, sometimes you have your lows. But I think when Les came to me the early part of this year and said, Trevor, let's get together and let's make this show something that the Bahamas have never seen before, I immediately gravitate to it.
There was a time people were saying that Rake and Scrape was dying. But it's almost, I've seen a resurgence.
Yeah, see, for me, we always need new energy. We need fresh energy. We love our veteran artists. We love our older singers. But we also need the young ones to come up and bring that new surge of energy, the new hit. And that will keep the music alive. And so it goes along with the slogan, keep the vibe alive. And so when there's a lull in artists producing music, then you get a lull and people craving for the music. But once you get that music come back, and I think it all started right after the pandemic with Nishi Ellis when she came out and said, let me loose me. And from there, you had Shine, who's here now, that came out, and of course you have KB and everybody else just came out, and you start having these Rake and Scrape starting to hit again. And so, unless, you know, he, as a businessman that he is, he's like, you know what, Trevor, it's time to get this thing back to where it ought to be, where it needs to be. And it took us 5 minutes to come up with an agreement how we're going to proceed and make this happen. And obviously, the first one you were seeing in May 11 of this year was a huge success. And a success not only from the fact that there was overwhelming support from the public, but a success from the production part of it. People leave from there wanting more, and persons who didn't get to see it, it's like, I can't wait for the next one. Technically, this show was supposed to be next year, but because of the demand for the show, we jump right into it.
And you know, that's important because it shows that there is still an emphasis on things Bahamian, which is very important. Shine 242, you're one of the headliners of the show. What does it mean for you to be able to perform in an event like this and celebrating our culture and heritage?
It's actually a privilege to be a part of this major event. Keep the vibe alive. Alpha Songs. To be amongst the legends of on this event too, the persons who I looked up to coming up through Bahamian music. You have legends like KB, DMac, Ronnie Butler, God rest his soul, and all the greats I've grown up listening to, and it's actually a privilege to be a part of this major event.
You know, and we're going to bring DMac and KB on, and it's always interesting when people call you a legend and you're still alive. It's making you feel old. But it is the highest compliment. But again, I want to talk about, you know, what are the difficulties sometimes that you face as a Bahamian artist, trying to find that stage, trying to find that audience, when we are oftentimes inundated with everything else foreign and every other foreign music genre. So how hard is it for you to get on that stage and stay on that stage?
What I kind of do is study, and I realize most artists internationally are consistent. And you know, I try to stay consistent with our time and our climate in the Bahamas. So consistency really is what keeping me right now, I could say.
That's important, and I guess consistency in anything you do is very important. Trevor, you know, a lot of times the international artists are draw on their own. You've got a big name and people will come.
Yes.
Is there any, you know, is it different nowadays with your Bahamian artists? Do you say, hey, I do in a Rake and Scrape, and people want to come automatically? Or does it take a little extra convincing, I guess, what I'm asking?
No, right now, like I said, Bahamian music is on the rise. But for me, what I would love to see, because people are going to come to Bahamian shows because they love Bahamian music. But like Shine said, they want that consistency. They just want to hear the new songs that keep coming on every year to keep them coming back. But what I also would like to see, Jerome, for me as a promoter, and this is something that I hope for many years, and I hope it comes to fruition very soon. The lights off of Shine 242, the lights off of KB, the lights off of DMac on the international stage.
What is it going to take to get us there?
Well, what it's going to take to get us there, I think we as Bahamians, we love our music, we love our culture, but I think what it's going to really take is for us to add a little twist to it, because we have the talent. When you interview KB and when you interview DMac shortly, you will realize that those two young men are responsible for about 40 to 50% of the writing and producing of Bahamian music that we listened to over the last 20 years. So we have the talent. So all it takes for us now is to one sound to cross that border. Remember, we crossed the border with Who Let the Dogs Out? But there was no follow-up hit after that. We crossed
the border with Funky Now, so too.
Yes, but there were a few songs with Temptation, but there was no follow-up hit.
Sure.
And so once we realized that one song get through the gate, then there have to be an influx of Bahamian songs, like Shang say, following the pattern, watch the trend, see what people are gravitating to, because times are changing. And once that gate is open, now you start to let all the young Bahamian artists, and even some of the veteran artists, now come through that gate. And when we get on that international stage, you hear the government talk about orange economy, the blue economy, then we now have persons start saying, let's go to the Bahamas for the Rake and Scrape Festival. There's some people are inquiring, but we need to get our tourism board involved. We need to get all Bahamians involved who know persons away who living in, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in South America, whether it's in Canada, and say, listen here, there's an event going on that I'm sure that you're going to love. Let's fly down for it. Because remember now, not to cut you off, remember now, every other event around the world and everybody's culture around the world, it starts by inviting persons to come to it.
And which is my next question. You know, why is the best of the Rake and Scrape being, or you know, the best of the best Rake and Scrape explosion, is that being advertised internationally? Are we using that as an opportunity to bring visitors in to listen to our music, and guess what? It's no concert in the world like a Bahamian music concert.
Oh no.
Are we using this as an opportunity to bring visitors in to experience who we are?
I think you're going to have another show, and you're going to ask tourism these questions, the tourism board these questions. And not to put it out there, but the reality is, a show like this and so much other shows that we have here in the Bahamas, I would love, and I will go on the record and say I would love for our tourism board to take a closer look at these shows and see how best they can incorporate these shows on their calendar of events.
Sean, I gotta ask you, what would something like that do for your career if you knew that there were, you know, not just tourists who happened to be here, but the people came to see you perform at this Rake and Scrape explosion? What would that do for your career?
Oh man, I think that would take it over the top, because you know, performing for Bahamian people is a rough thing. To get Bahamians to move ain't easy.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, our people love our music, and we love our culture, and to get persons to actually experience that, I think that put that right over the top for me.
Is it difficult for you as an artist to book those local gigs? I mean, outside of this, people know you; they know you in that space. But is it difficult for you to get that consistent work?
I don't think so. If you're consistent and you're good, I think it would reward you with being booked consistently, if that makes sense.
I know when KB comes on, we're gonna talk. We can talk.
But let me just add to what Shang said. Now, how me as a promoter, I travel to various events, concerts around the world. And so when I go and I see an artist perform, I look at that artist and I gauge that and I say, wow, I think the people in the Bahamas would love to see that artist in the Bahamas. And that's how I book my artists. Now let's do the flip side. Persons come to the Bahamas and they start to scout. That guy up there, Shang, oh, I just see KB, I like that song. Let me go and see how I could book him to come back to my party or to my event. And that's how it works. But if you're not inviting people down, and we can't get people to come and see our local talent, that's how they're going to get out.
As I started to say, I know when KB comes on, we're going to talk about it, because he has been one of the loudest and most consistent voices in the promotion of Bahamian music. But what can we do, China, I'm asking you, as a country to even help to catapult you all further as Bahamians in our own space, because we do all kinds, we go all around the world with all kinds of things. We have our athletes and even people in business and doing. But what can we do as a country to help you to get to that stage?
I think it's the one word I could think about is togetherness. You know what I mean? We just have to support each other, and that's how most music get over, because locally people like their culture, they like their music. So if we don't support it, like Trevor said, tourism, everybody have to be involved in promoting and pushing our things forward. And if that don't happen, then we can always be trying to go through a different avenue who don't understand our culture, who don't understand our music. But it takes us. I mean, Jamaica did it, Trinidad did it.
Will it take, though, that younger generation, those Gen Zs, those millennials, will it take them to take that music as well?
I was about to say that. Yeah. I was about to say that. I think it's going to take the new generation. We have a large contingent of Bahamians now in Canada. And what is going to happen is that they're going to start having their Bahamian concert events, and it's going to allow other Caribbean persons to come into that space, and they're going to start to fall in love with it. So when you see your local Bahamian artists, whether it's in Canada, whether it's in the US or wherever, you have to go and support it. The same way how the Trinidadians, the Jamaican, the Bayesians.
Oh yeah, because when they performing, they come and you could see him in Overdose, the DJ, wherever he goes, and he started to travel. And you know, the people said, "Oh, Overdose, I went to school with him. Oh, I know him. I used to go to this party back home." And so it's going to be that generation, I feel, that's going to help us to get the Bahamian artisans where they need to be. But it has to be a space on the international market. Agreed.
Because the space is there.
We're out of time. Sean, I give you the last word. You know, what can people expect from you come November?
Well, if you missed the first one in May, you definitely missed a good show. The second one, it could be 10 times better. They know me as very energetic. I may be a little shy now.
I didn't say you're very calm.
I'm cool. But you know, once I get on stage, that's a different animal. You know, you're gonna expect a more polish shine. I'm sure most of the other artists who've been on the first show before, on the second show, they're going to basically work on their stage presence and whatever they need to work on to execute a good show. And I feel like it's going to be a great one.
So we wish you all the best, and certainly we'll come out to support, and I encourage everybody to go support and keep up. I like what you said, consistency. That's important. That is the motive.
So you missed the last show, so we want to make sure you this show. So on behalf of Keep the Vibe Alive, you can tell people that you're going to be there.
Nah, that's what you put me in all that seat now, because it's too everybody wants.
You get more tickets.
I get more tickets.
And also, we want to encourage persons to go and buy their tickets from the Beauty Shack. Now, what you have here is Generation Z, eh?
Yes.
This is the jump drive and all the Bahamian backyard party and mix on it. So once you buy your tickets early, long as supply lasts, you get your Bahamian music.
Got your Bahamian. You put me in the see if we get it. You ain't get your tickets, so don't look at me for nothing. Thank you. All the best. Trevor, I guess you got to come back. We got to talk about that thing.
We can talk about that thing.
All right, we are just getting started. When we return, the best of the best event has brought out all of the artists we know and love. So stay tuned as we hear from others who are on the lineup. You're watching On the Record. Well, our next guest needs no introduction, but we'll give him one anyway. Dillon DMac McKenzie, a talented producer and recording artist with more than 3 decades in the music industry, has been a force in shaping Bahamian sound, known for his unforgettable hits and high-energy performances. DMac is bringing all of that experience and passion to the best of the best stage. DMac, welcome to On the Record. Let's begin with, I guess, your music journey. And where did that journey with Rake and Scrape begin for you?
Wow, thank you for having me on. It is so crazy. I'll just kind of put it in short form. Started out with parents, my dad being a pastor, my mom being the youth pastor.
You know what they say about pastors too?
Listen, man. So I've been getting it from time. Okay? So yeah, started off in church with my parents playing, and at our home we had devotions every weekend. So of course I'm playing the piano every weekend. My brother Kevin, deceased, was the first one to show me my piano chords, and so we transitioned from there. Then my dad would take me to church every morning, so every Sunday morning, so I'd be playing for like Sunday school and stuff like that, moving into the youth segment of it, and then more into church, playing one of the keyboard players in our church. And then from there, musical background, I remember when I got into recording, it was, firstly, when I went to school, I was always interested in how the music is being made up, the composition of music. I remember times in our music room, and our music teacher at the time, would give us assignments as to identifying instruments, and I found that I was very good at that. She told me that, man, there's something in there for me because I have the talent for it. When further started to DJ, I remember a story. In school, my dad pulled, he normally pulls everybody upstairs in the study, and he asked each one of us, what do we want to be? And I said, I want to be a DJ. And my mom said,
She didn't send her to school, what?
She didn't catch that, right? But boy, listen, yeah, dude. Man, listen. She girls, right? But boy, yeah, on the edge of it. But, so I remember I ran downstairs while I was there disappointed. And my dad came after me, and he said, the pastor, and he said, son, how much it costs? And so from there, he was the first investor in the DJ system for me. Started from there, like I said, playing music all over the time, and then trying to figure out these components and instruments. And then my brother Kevin was recording at Exotic Sound Studios with Eddie, deceased. But Eddie had a great studio, and he was selling some equipment. Kevin had bought some of the equipment and bought at home. And he started to give it to me to start to work with it and say, man, I see what you could do with these pieces of equipment. I know you like this kind of thing and all that stuff. And it was like a marriage. So I just started creating beats and creating stuff, and found myself with various studios, being the person to create beats in various studios around Nassau. And so that's how basically I started out doing from the music perspective. Moving into other genres of music, Kevin and I there was a song competition. We were winning most of the song competitions at that time. Fred Ferguson and us, we were like battling back and forth with the winnings of those competitions. And then we won the Commonwealth Song Competition. We were afforded the ability to travel into Africa. We went to Harare to perform for the Commonwealth Heads of Government, and we won. With the proceeds that we won, we started a studio called Commonwealth Recording Studio. We started it inside of our study, and at that time I was just young and green, and I was producing music like crazy. I just was glad to have these equipment, and so I was doing a lot of stuff. And what happened, we had a lot of traffic coming through the house, with my dad coming one day and said, Dillon, that's enough. So we transitioned and moved it onto Soldier Road into another building where Commonwealth Studio was, and it stood there just up until about, maybe I would say about 5-6 years ago. But in there, that's when I started really producing music, and it was other genres of music. It wasn't primarily rake and scrape music at the time. So I was doing most of the songs, like especially in the Christian aspect, for like the Marquee Marks and the Christian Massive. So that was predominantly reggae. I was known for my R&B and my hip hop production. And then I remember this particular person came to the studio, had these braids on his hair, and I was like, who this person is coming inside my place, And it turned out to be Ira Starr at the time, and he had this concept, and he said, man, I want to try something, I want to do some kind of things. And so I said, we started working together on it. And then I fell in love with it. I got a passion for it. And then that's when you saw the likes of the Gino D's and these other artists starting to come in, and me starting to record for these particular artists. It got to the point where I lost business because I was doing rake and scrape wasn't cool at that time.
Right. Which brings us to another point. So because Bahamian music obviously has been around since as long as we've been here.
Yeah.
But there was a time I knew when I was growing up, the Bahamian music was rake and scrape was popular, and then it died.
Correct.
Almost died out. And I remember during my days working at Island FM with the late Charles Carter, he was a proponent and a lover of rake and scrape, and he fought to keep it alive.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it seemed like it exploded back onto the scene.
Yeah.
And young Bahamians were all of a sudden into it all over again.
you have to look at the errors and it has to do. There are a couple of things. I think we have a cultural pride issue. We could talk about that a little later, but the bigger part of that is people don't really understand us who are in. I said I started losing business because persons, when they saw me doing the rake and scrape, they were like, "Oh man, he doing that old foolishness. We ain't coming by his studio." And so what happened is we had to build this thing. So then we had to push a lot of material out there to get persons to actually start liking Bahamian music. Our biggest problem, I think, in this country is anytime you see us starting, and that's when you see these waves start happening and they come out and then they pull back. When you see them start happening, it's because the artists are there, we are excited, we're pushing, and then when we look, there's another something that comes in like an invasive species, like how we have the fish, the lionfish there. Mm-hmm. There comes a species that comes in and takes over, and the species that I'm talking about is different genres, other genres of music that normally comes and just take over the industry when we have been from foundation pushing and pushing. So sometimes we push and then something comes. We fight back again, we push again to keep it alive, then something else.
So let me ask you then, is this best of the best rake and scrape explosion? Is this our way of really trying to keep this alive?
Yeah, but I mean, it says it all, keep the vibe alive. That's what it's all about. I saw when Mr. Turnquist had started this concept from many years ago, I thought of it as something that is really, really, really ideal because this is something we're talking about, keeping this vibe alive. Like I said, it's literally a fight all the time for us to really get there, to keep this music going, to keep the interest of the people and to get them, to always keep them engaged in the Bahamian music. So I think this Keep the Vibe Alive series and the Keep the Vibe Alive concert, it speaks to the level of commitment that we have as Bahamian entertainers, as Bahamian promoters, producers, and the show producers, and the whole thing. It shows our level of commitment in keeping the vibe alive, in keeping in what we believe to be the best single sound. That's what I think about.
So, and it's interesting you brought up sound because that brings me to my next question. So, rake and scrape has an indigenous sound, okay? And it really speaks to the essence of who we are. And when you say it, for me, I just always, I have the picture of a family island sound in my head. But is the music evolving or is the sound still the same?
So that's a great question, Romy. That is an awesome question. Let me start by saying this. I see there are some changes. Mm-hmm. It's not moving as fast as I think I would like it to, but there are some stuff going on. I think we need to now start looking at I use this analogy for when I talk about rake and scrape. I talk about baking a cake, and if you're making a carrot cake, the main ingredient in carrot cake would be carrot, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're making a carrot cake and you start adding a bunch of different ingredients and it overpowers this carrot cake or whatever the carrot cake tastes like, then it's really not carrot cake anymore. Carrot cake anymore. So our thing for evolution of Bahamian music or for rake and scrape, I think, is to make sure that we align ourselves with the foundational instruments, with the foundational sound, but we can move from there. And not only that, sonically is our thing. So that's from an engineering perspective, because that's my engineering background side of it. We're talking about our music now sonically matching up. We have to now move to where we have the right mix engineers. We have to move to where we have the right mastering plants, the right mastering engineers. We have to get this industry kicked off. We have to kick off our industry and get it jump started. We need the right writers, because now lyrically, our music has to lyrically now merge and be acceptable by the world market.
And that's it. You must be following my question, because we talk about engendering that Bahamian pride, and I think that is there. It's coming back in many ways. But how do we now get that to be the global pride? How do we get that to the next level, to the global stage? Not that we haven't gone there before, but how do we get it now back, or get us to the place where we were decades ago with Who Let the Dogs Out, or with Funky Nassau, or with other hits that have gone international? But how do we get that sound? How do we get there again? And as we talked about in the last segment, where you and others are able to get to that stage and to achieve that global success that carries on, so it's not just a one-hit wonder.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this first, because I always use it. To thine own self be true. So if I say to thine own self be true, it goes to, that means that we have to stay true to who we are and represent what we have, because we can only be the best at who we are as being Bahamians. We can't be the best Jamaican, we can't be the best Haitian, we can't be the best Trinidadian, we can't be the best of anything, and anything else that we try outside of that to be the best of, we can't be the best of it. Because those persons are the originators. We only can be the carbon copy of it. And nobody wants a carbon copy. So I think what we need to really do is, back to what I'm talking about, enhancing our sound, enhancing our lyrical content to get it to the level. We have the advantage of the internet. So it is not like back in the day when we would have had to go pull a CD.
You want to take a record or take a CD or take a tape.
Right. We have those advantages. We just need to get our sound sonically, all of our music, don't care what is being created, to have a sound sonically. When you play it up against those songs that are being played on an international level, let's say a reggae song, you play it against a soca song, or you play it against an R&B song, when you listen to it, it has that sound sonically that matches up. I think that is what is missing in a lot of our in terms of our music, and also, like I said, the lyrical content. So there are a couple of things that we need to work at. The industry has to come together to be able to establish that, though. We got to be able to come together to establish the sound of it, sonically what it's all about, and then let's start bringing on those necessary writers.
Establish and agree.
Establish and agree. Bringing on the necessary persons who can write, not necessarily meaning that everybody who gets on the stage, everybody who writes needs to be the artist on the stage. Realizing that there is an industry to be created, and so we all need to play our part. There are many components of the industry that make money. I'm talking about, like, we talk about the guy that does Here Comes Santa Claus. I mean, every year, this guy making millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, just from writing. So we have to look at it holistically. We have to look at the entire industry so that folks can understand, but it's not just only the persons on the front line. There are a lot of persons on the back line that are making way more money.
So I got to ask you this, we're just about out of time.
Okay.
So I don't got my tickets, right? So November 2nd, I come into the Best of the Best Rake and Scrape Explosion, Keep the Vibe Alive. You're going to be on that stage. How do you come to the stage time after time? November 2nd again. How do you come to that stage over and over and bring something that keeps people wanting to see you every day? Because I don't see DMac 10 times. And I come in again to see him. What do you, as an artist, how do you come to that stage? When you get on stage November 2nd, what are you going to do to get people to say, you know what? Well, I don't see him 10, but this 11 made it really worth it.
I'm a student. So when I say that, I always study. So I'm watching what I believe in the world standard. So there is, for me, as it relates to the Bahamian music, I believe in world standard. So anything that I do is always going to be, I always try to be on that level of world standard. Even the way that I produce, my music is done, when people see my programmer comes on stage, they understand that the music changes. There's a certain energy that comes in play. It's because I study what is being done on an international market, which is the standard. And so every time I come to stage, I don't really come scripted per se. I come with the mission of this is what I'm going to accomplish, but how that is going to be done is what the crowd really kind of feeds to me. So when I get on stage, you will never see the same show, because when I get out there, it's always going to be different. So when folks see me, they're going to be like, boy, I wonder what he's going to bring next. But it's always with the crowd participation and them getting involved and them getting into my performances.
DMac, thank you very much. This has been an exciting conversation. And I just want to tell you this, so people don't know. There are very few people in the world who could come on this desk and call me Romy in public.
I thought really cool. I thought about that. I said, boy, I don't know. That might have been a little.
That means you got to be my good friend to be able to call me that. But all the best to you. Looking forward.
Keep the vibes alive. I mean, I want to see y'all. Y'all got to come out, come support Bahamian culture. That's what we're all about. That's what we're here for. That's what we're fighting for. We love y'all. We see it growing. Keep supporting.
That's a good way to end the segment. All right, we have one more very special guest left. Stay tuned to find out what they are looking forward to most from this event. Stay tuned, you're watching On the Record. Our final guest is truly a legend in every sense of the word. Kirkland KB Bodie is a renowned recording artist, musician, music producer, author, and activist who has spent decades shaping the Bahamian music scene, known not just for his incredible talent, but also for his unwavering advocacy for greater investment in Bahamian music. KB has always championed the importance of pride in our culture. KB, welcome to On the Record. It's an honor for us to have you in our studio this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jerome.
So, outside of making great music, which we all know you for, you're also so well known for your advocacy for Bahamian music and Bahamian culture. Why has it been so important to you?
Boy, I'm going to try and make this very short on these answers, but because I grew up, listening to guys like Ronnie Butler, Eddie Minnis, Tony McKay, these guys were my heroes, Bahamian-wise, and, it really, I think I stand for them. Not only just for the younger generation, those who come in on, and even my peers, I think I stand for those guys who set a trend, who set the benchmark, and I just want to make those guys proud and make the country proud. And I always watch, like, when a guy like in Jamaica, Bob Marley, and I said, boy, Jamaicans should feel proud to know that Bob is doing all this work. And that's what I always felt. When I go to the world, I do anything, and I stand up, I want Bahamians to feel proud of what we have something to offer. Not for me, because I'm not, and I never want to be selfish in what I do. I always want it to be, like, I'll put my neck on the line for what is ours.
There have been periods when people have come out and say, "Oh, Bahamian music is dying," or culture is dying. And I'll start by saying, I think it was the late James Catlin who once said that culture is everything that we do. It's not dying. It's who we are. It's just it evolves in so many.
That is true.
But when you look at the fact that Eddie Minnis recently was able to pull off a concert, and it was so popular, and people are still talking about it. What does that say to you about the future of Bahamian music and the future of greats who have even passed on and gone on, but their music still lives?
It says we did something great, we're doing something great, and it seems like we're continuing to, because for me, the young people seem to still want that. I'm so happy for Eddie and seeing his success, because his success is all of our success. And again, not only for those who, got the tickets, but even for those who trying to do future shows, those who want to now take this music to the world, because again, it must be taken care of here. We must appreciate our music here if we want the world to appreciate it. You can't, that's like Junkanoo. You come to Junkanoo and you see what's out there. You see those tourists, they want that in their part of the neck of the woods, They want that. It's just that you can't take it unless you take us with you. Sure. And that's what we need. And I think it was a great night for Eddie, and I think it was a great night for Bahamian music.
So November 2nd, the best of the best Rake and Scrape Explosion, keeping the vibe alive. This is a concert dedicated to Rake and Scrape and to Bahamian music. How does that make you feel, knowing that all things Bahamian are going to be on a stage in front of Bahamians for Bahamians to enjoy?
Well, wait, listen, I've been doing this a while now, maybe as long as, little before you went to school. But,
college. You say school. Because I remember, the first time I just a chifa, I come home from college.
To present your works, you call your wares, things you've created. To me in life is like, I think you can understand what God must feel like when you can manifest something from nothing. Because that's what music is. You manifest something, you bring it to fruition. And now when I wrote Boatman, or I wrote Shifat, or I wrote any one of my songs, I brought it forth. And it's nothing better than seeing people respond to something you've created, and they're having a great time, they're jumping, they're shouting, and they're appreciating what you've done. And I think every artist, and again, not only me, even you. I heard that intro you read just now. That was fantastic. I don't know if you wrote it. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know if we got a gang of writers.
I got it with my producer. I got it.
But it was awesome. And then again, so would you say steel, iron sharpens iron?
Yes.
Or steel sharpens steel? The point is for me to hear that, and I said to myself inside, I said, that's some great writing. And that's what we have. We have beautiful people, we have talented people. It's just that I think we must invest in our people. That can come from a governmental end, it can come from the private sector, but we have to learn how to invest in our own. That's what we have to do.
When we look at who we are as a people, music to me and lyrics is really where the history of our country lies. When I listen to a Ronnie Butler, when I listen to a Count Bernardino, when I listen to an Eddie Minnis, it takes me back 30, 40, 50 years when you hear Eddie Minnis talk about the finance man. And so music really is our culture and who we are. And when people listen to your lyrics, it helps them to understand who Bahamians are and really what makes us tick.
And that's the difference between the musician or the music, our rake and scrape music or our Gombe music, versus Junkanoo, which is Junkanoo's parade. It shows you our colors, our vibrancy, our energy, our dancing. But our music speaks to the culture. We speak to the culture and for the culture. All those things like She Want a Thug, Stroke Man, Kicking on You, all those things that we can say someone has lived. Because every song I've written, I can only think of one song I've ever written that I called my own name in, and that was All the Meat, that I said, KB, that I actually said KB, but we speak to the culture, and that's a great thing. So, and when it comes to documenting who we are as a people, that music does it.
How does rake and scrape, though, differ from other forms of Bahamian music? Someone once said, or there's an argument, I guess, any song that a Bahamian makes is Bahamian music. But how does rake and scrape, I see you shaking your head, how does rake and scrape differ or even define who we are?
With any music, and I hope, I don't want to get too tedious, because with any music, it has a foundation. So you'll have what you call, something you'll know. Bob Marley would say, feel it in a one drop. When that one drop is when the snare and the kick drop. Feel it in a one drop, bop. Bop. That's the snare and the kick. That's one drop. So understand, that's a form of reggae music. So when you hear one drop, that's it. You know who else does that? That's A&B. The Eagles does that on Hotel California. You'll know that that's reggae music. See, but no one pays because all those guitars going over it, all those rock guitars, but that's actually a reggae. Listen to the bass line. So that's listen, what does soca do? Soca gets you straight for doop, 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 but then it goes. Now what soca does, again, soca, S-O means soul, C-A calypso, soca, one word, that's what it means. 2-4, they call that pop, 2-4, 2, bop, doop, bop, something like Billie Jean, other songs, Caribbean Queen, those. So again, that's a foundation of what we call American music or American black music, basically. Rake and scrape drops on the 4. It has a straight 4, doop, 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 bop, doop, 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 bop. Biggest box in the world, like bop. That's what it does. Any authentic rake and scrape does that. All that, or boatman, listen to them. But you would find that the other stuff, that's just what you call the extra spice. But you always got to come back on the 4. That's what makes rake and scrape. Any music, polka music, any music in the world has a foundation, and that establishes what that music is. So no. See, I can let's say Sawyer has a son. You and the wife broke up. Y'all had a kid. I went ahead. I'm now with your wife. I adopt this kid. But you remember, I'm a Bodie. When that kid grows, it has Sawyer DNA. So Sawyer DNA may have like sickle cell. It may have sinuses. Bodies don't have that. So the kid can't come to me and ask me about Sawyer business. The kid has to come back to the source. And that's the difference between any music. We can't take soca music and then call it Bahamian, because you could get beat up by some Trinidadian dudes who spent 50 to 60 to 70 years cultivating their sound. That's why it's important for you to establish yours. And this should have been really, let's say, already charted out music-wise, documented to say this is our music, this is our sound, this is who we are, and that should have been passed through Parliament. Now, I don't know if it is done, but that's what it should be, because we need to say this is ours. We don't want one day the Chinese or the other come there and take our sound and then say, well, this is ours now. Because you remember, time takes away anything. It's the winner gets the spoils.
And that is what you call a lesson. You just gave me a lesson. But, and I think the problem is that the larger Bahamian society doesn't hear this. They don't understand or even appreciate what it is that exists right here, that is our very own.
And like you said, you see young kids carrying on with that song and they're dancing, they're having a good time. And I remember going to, let me tell you, until I went to Rake and Scrape Festival in Cat Island, I never knew what Rake and Scrape was. Now, my first my first introduction to Rake and Scrape was listening to Phil. I think it was West End Moo. And I remember Phil, and I'm saying, this is nice. Now, I had already written songs to talk about Rake and Scrape, but as a musician, I had never studied. See, I like to study the older musicians and find out what they do. But when Phil did that Rake and Scrape, and I had that West End Moo, and I said, this is nice. And we didn't shift yet. But then time after time, we started to shift. And Phil was like one of the first guys who made like, what would you call popular Rake and Scrape? Because you have authentic, you go to Carolina Rake and Scrape, you get the traditional Rake and Scrape. You get the accordion, the saw.
You got that down home.
That down home traditional. But then what we do, like the biggest box in the world, or a boatman, do what you would call pop Rake and Scrape, where we add bass and other instrument to make it more more pleasable to maybe, the Bahamian audience or to foreign audiences.
Sure.
So that's where the difference comes in. I don't think, let's say, I Asking for Much by Ancient Man. Again, that is a traditional basic. The only thing he added to the song was a bass, but the song still moved the people. See, it didn't matter if it had all these instruments in it. It moved the people because there was an essence, there was the lyrics to it, there was the beat, there was the music. It moved the people, and I think that's what we have, going for us. I think I can call off artist after artist who did traditional stuff like Stevie S, who does great music, Elon Moxie. I'm talking about who traditional now. I'm not talking about who doing music with a bunch of instruments. I'm talking about just straight a saw, drum, and maybe a bass. We are doing great things with this music, man. These guys are writing great music, writing great songs. The younger artists are coming forward, like a Shine, like I can call all those young, like well, the other day we had Cupid did a nice song called "Give Me Back My Culture." Great song. I think the young people are coming up and doing a great job.
So do you think though that a stage like a Best of the Best Rake and Scrape is really the catalyst to more, to build?
Oh, yes. I think it's only going to get better. And let's say, what Les Turnquest is doing by investing in these young artists. Again, because a bunch of them, like a Mama D, like a Fan Sean, like a Nishi, and all these who are coming on this DMac. What he's doing is he is helping to build this industry, because although we can make music, it still takes finance, it takes investment to make this move. What you see going on in any territory, United States or anywhere, that takes money. That's not because people love your music. Now, we don't have many songs that come out that are what you call organic, meaning it came from the ground. One of the last songs I remember being like, a Shifat was almost like organic. Hold Your Head was organic. Civil Servant was organic. I'm speaking songs like you heard it one day and the song just went on the same day, it took off. Yeah. And that doesn't happen much. Usually you have to have record companies that are backing artists, paying for the studio, making sure that their clothes, their wear, they look presentable. All these things are important to the business. So it's not just me. It's not just about KB. It's about a team that works behind me to make all this happen.
One of the things that we talked about in the previous segments was how do we get this wonderful, authentic Rake and Scrape sound. I just want you to know you completely changed my outlook now on how I listen to this. I just want you to know that. But how do we now get that to that global stage? How do we crack that ceiling again to get back and get to that global stage, and not just get there but stay there? Because we've had some successes in the past, but how do we get there and stay there?
Boy, listen here. It's without me not getting, it's to understand the music business isn't, people look at you. I remember when I was young, you looked at it with naive eyes, rose-colored glasses eyes, and you think it takes finance. It takes dedication and sacrifice. It takes, you can't work at 9 to 5 anymore because you have to be solely dedicated to this. So it's just so much. My point is, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of finance, and you have to be ready that if someone is willing to to put up $500,000 to $1 million investment in you, because that's the kind of money it will take. We're gonna need, along with guys like Les Turnquest and other promoters and other producers, we're gonna need some external forces coming in here, recognizing the music, because a lot of them out there recognize it. It's just that they have to see that we're ready to move out there. Remember, this is the only market, basically us, Turks and Caicos, and a few other Caribbean nations that understand our sound. Rake and Scrape isn't just belong to Bahamas. I don't know if you know that. Rake and Scrape Jamaica does rake and scrape. Turks and Caicos, rake and scrape. A lot of those Caribbean countries do rake and scrape. They may have different names for it. Like Turks Islands, their name for rake and scrape is ripsaw. It's a difference. You have territories like other areas would have junkanoo. But like Bermuda, Barbados, Jamaica, they all have gombe and junkanoo. But no one does it like we do it. You understand? No one. You may have your little scrap gang, but we do it glorious. And that's what we're doing with the rake. So we have embraced the rake and scrape. We found something that really moved our hearts with rake and scrape. So now we're investing our time, our money, and everything into it. But back to your point with it, it's going to take money, lots of money, because you're now going against other genres of music that's up in the $1 billion, stratosphere. Sure. So you're going to need that kind of money because it takes radio play. Radio play don't come just again. Me getting on the show today didn't come easy. So
it overdue though. It should have been a long time. I used to say that.
When I say that, that's because you've now recognized, just like the Eddie Minnis show, you've now seen the best of the best happen. You've seen Eddie Minnis happen. You've seen Phil stuff. You're saying you as a news person and others out there said, hey, something's going on in this country.
Yeah.
And so it made you then reach out. And
it's a recognition of something.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
And so I think us thing like with me, every day of my life is dedicated to music. Every single day. It haunts me. It's in me. And probably you feel the same way in your craft. You could relate to what I'm saying. Because
most definitely.
Right now I'm not thinking about writing music right now. But just as I take this wires off me and I leave, I'm back to where I'm driving, I'm thinking about, because it haunts you. And it's a good haunting now. Yeah. But sometimes you need sleep. And then if you wake up through the night, you just wake up with something. So it is what it is. But I'm going to dedicate myself until I die doing this. That's why you see me staying when I stay and I have the body awake I have, because I treat my everyday life like a 9 to 5. I wake up every day in my life. I wake up, I go to music, I think of what I can do. I try to write for other artists. I try to produce other artists. I try to bring knowledge to the business. This is what I do every day of my life. And I love doing it. Although it's a sacrifice to my family, it's a sacrifice to every facet. And people don't understand you.
That's my next.
Because musicians we are, not anyone who's dedicated. We're different and we are kind of quirky. So.
You're creatives.
Very creative. I want to preface something here. A friend of mine just passed, and he was in the group when back in the Ego Trip group. His name is Sid Roll, just passed the other day. So imagine, out of 4 of us in the band, the first one to pass, and he was the leader of the band. This guy actually, for what I am today, and those guys in the band, just George Delancey, Dave Cooper, Sid Roll. 2 were from the east and 2 were from the west. Me and George were from 8 Mile Rock, Jonestown, 8 Mile Rock, and Sid and Dave were from McLeanstown and Sweden's Key. The point is, Sid showed me he showed us in the business, because he was the eldest of the group. He said, Kirk, these are going to be the things that are going to happen. You're going to get all the women in the world before you get any money. The girls are going to like you up there, see you singing and whatever. We did our first concert. He showed me style of dressing, how to carry yourself, how to this. He showed me all these things. Now, of course, you have, as you go and you learn things, but we stayed friends to the day he died, meaning that even if I in Grand Bahama, we would get together, drive West End, get ourselves some conch salads, some conch fritters, hang out and talk, and we were up to the day. So he just passed like about a month ago. But the point is, you understand, I stay connected to the music, and that's what I try to do. And again, it is what it is. This business, we are a different breed, we are different creatures, and people find it hard to relate to us as musicians.
I'll tell you once what the late Charles Carter said to me. When you're dealing with creatives, you have to give them room to create and to be who they are.
That is true. That is true.
And I've never forgotten that.
That is true.
And you're right. We are all, even in this business, we are creatives. And sometimes I replace creatives with crazy.
Well, you could listen. And to tell you the truth, let me say this to you. I'm very much. I grew up in Jonestown, 8 Mile Rock, but I was born here in Nassau. But I grew up there, and Jonestown made me who I am today. So in saying that, when people see me, like, I'm not a star dude. I'm more of an artist. I don't care about the star stuff. I don't care about all the, yada. I never cared too much. When I was young, I maybe took advantage of it. But as I started to learn, I had to learn to distance myself from it. And T. Coakley said, familiarity breeds contempt.
Oh, all the time.
And
Yes,
so I always try to make myself as scarce as I can, but yet still doing my music and not getting starstruck. I'm very much grounded. So when people come in, yo, KB, I sometimes have to tell them, no, yeah, I'm here. Because I know their reaction. I'm not the guy they're reacting to. I'm a guy like, this guy is walking around with some shorts and slippers.
All the time.
In which they expect me to have, jewels on, and I look like a rapper. But I try just to be a humble Bahamian. My biggest hero is Sir Lyndon. That's my hero of heroes. Because for some reason, he made me feel proud to be a Bahamian. To anything else, he made me feel proud to be a Bahamian. And I hold that in my heart.
I think that is a good way to end. KB,
thank you
good
very
talking
much.
to you, good
Man,
seeing
thank
you
you, man.
all the
Thank you
time.
very
And look,
much.
I just want to say, we always have this argument in the newsroom every day. Great things come out of Grand Barber. All the time. So shout out to the folks at Grand Barber. KB, you're
Thank you very
representing
much,
well.
man. Thank you
very
very
much. Best of the best. November 2nd, I'll be there. I got my tickets.
But you got your ticket, I see
I
you.
got my tickets, so I
Please,
can be
man.
there. And I encourage every Bahamian, if you can, to come out and support.
Thank you very
I think
much.
It's going to be a wonderful thing.
Bahamian culture, my boy. Thank you very
Definitely.
much.
All right, folks. As we wrap up tonight's episode, I want again to extend thank you to all of our guests for joining us and sharing their passion for Bahamian music and culture. They are tied together. It's clear that Rake and Scrape isn't just music, it's a vital part of who we are as people. So don't forget the best of the best. Rake and Scrape Explosion Reloaded. It's November 2nd at Superclub's Breezes. It's going to be an unforgettable night, so come out and relish everything our culture has to offer. I'll be there. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We'll see you next week for another exciting episode of On the Record. Have a great evening.